From Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
We're really happy with the new players, a lot of these freshmen and junior college kids. So it's going to be a different defense. We all know that. And what's sort of neat, nobody knows much about our players right now. And we'll have some different offensive players. These young wide receivers, nobody knows much about them yet, but they can catch and they can run. So we'll see.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, and happy first practice day to everyone. We have been counting down the months, the days, the hours until these guys got back on the practice field, and they did so today. USC this morning, in fact, Clemson out there this afternoon in the afternoon heat. We'll hear from Dabo Swinney. He spoke with the media before practice. We'll hear from Steve Spurrier. He spoke to the media after practice, and more from USC today. Plus, it's been a very busy day in the Columbia area. We had a gathering of the media at the State House at noon with USC and Clemson baseball coaches and athletic directors to talk about the Palmetto Series. This is in conjunction with the South Carolina Department of Agriculture, but they want to highlight the head-to-head competition throughout the academic year between USC and Clemson athletic teams. And we have a pretty cool interview with Monty Lee and Chad Holbrook together, I think together for the first time since Monty became the head coach at Clemson. And you'll enjoy hearing what those two had to say about each other and about their teams and about the upcoming baseball season, which for them, they start to get to work pretty soon when the players get to campus. And then this afternoon over at the governor's mansion, it was Darlington Day, and Kevin Harvick was there. We'll hear from him. Chip Wild, president of Darlington, will also join us tonight to talk about Darlington Day, but they unveiled the number 21 car, the Wood Brothers machine, driven by Ryan Blaney, and the paint scheme that they'll have, all black with the white numerals, of course. They'll run that at Darlington, and Harvick will run a throwback scheme as well, recognizing Budweiser's first can of beer, that scheme that they had back in the day. So a lot of fun over there. I kind of feel like Wolf Blitzer, been around politicians too much today, Pro. That's something for you to handle.
Blitz Wolfer, as what was it, Herman King called him during the debate. No, I'm kind of dealing with the guys in Wisconsin right now. They got some strange people in Wisconsin.
That's got nothing to do with us. K-Mac,
no.
What's on your mind?
Well, I'm excited to finally have some football
Practice.
But it's thudding right now.
You're
It's not really
practice.
popping because they don't have their full pads on, but to have them back out on the field, the Spurrier's in a good mood. It's always good when Spurrier's happy. He's been very jovial since his little diatribe revealing his enemies list. He's been in a pretty good mood.
Yeah, off to a good start injury-wise. Mike Matulis was in practice today. He was in workout gear, so they had to feel good about that. Swinney and Spurrier coming right up here on Sports Talk. We'll be right back. here's our game plan for tonight. We'll take some calls here early on, 800-956-7266. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com, Twitter at sportstalksc. Then after our next break, Steve Spurrier, about 3.5 minutes he went this morning. Following that, we'll bring you Dabo Sweeney. He did a media gathering prior to practice, so his is more of a preview of the upcoming camp for the Tigers. Then we'll hear from USC and Clemson baseball coaches Chad Holbrook and Monty Lee. That was pretty neat talking to those guys. Second hour, a little Lorenzo Ward for you from USC. Also do a little NASCAR, Chip Weil from Darlington. Also Kevin Harvick, defending Southern 500 champion, defending NASCAR champion. Got all that coming your way here on Sports Talk. 800-956-7266, the number. If you want to jump on the program with us, comment, question, observation, declaration, commitment, whatever you want to make, give us a call. We've got time here in the next little bit to get to you on that. Let me pass along some news notes for you. Jadeveon Clowney's name in the news, unfortunately not for a positive reason. His father's in jail today after being charged with attempted murder. David Chili Bean Morgan, a convicted felon, fired shots outside a gentleman's club in Rock Hill, was arrested by police. This according to the Rock Hill Herald, citing a police report. Morgan was removed from sitting on the stage at the Crazy Horse Show Club in Rock Hill, then waited outside the club for an employee before firing shots at him. The employee in question told police Morgan was standing by the back of the club against a wall at 2:15 in the morning before proceeding to take shots at the employee. The employee says he fired back. Wild West, baby. And he was eventually found by police at the Piedmont Medical Center being treated for a gunshot wound to the shoulder. Morgan previously was sentenced to 15 years in jail in 95 for burglary and other crimes, according to the Herald. According to Clowney's mother and grandmother, Clowney is highly upset. Greg Bryant, Notre Dame's second leading returning rusher, reportedly out. Academic issue has made him ineligible. School did not address the specific nature of the situation, but did confirm Bryant will not be with the team. He's out of North Carolina, if my memory serves me right. I think he was a really highly recruited guy out of the state of North Carolina. The college football playoff announced today that is expanding its travel assistance for families of players playing in the semifinals and final. The playoff will provide a $2,500 stipend per athlete to help with travel, hotel accommodations, and meals for families, up to 100 athletes per school.
Good.
That's 25,000.
Yeah. No, it's 250,000. 2,500 times 100. That's, what is that? 25,000?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody help me out with the math.
25,000.
Okay. That's good. That's good money to help you provide for your next of kin to come watch you play in the playoffs. So here's the question. Let me see if this answers this question in this release. $2,500 per athlete to help with travel. What happens if you play in both games?
That's actually $250,000.
Yeah, it is 250,000.
That's what I thought.
Two zeros.
Yeah, I thought so. You suckered me into 25,000.
I have a
Anyway,
good
what if you
poker
play in both games though, and your family has to
You
travel
get more.
twice?
You do get more.
You get
In the Final Four, I know on the women's side, it's a smaller scale, but if you made it to the Final Four, they had a certain amount, and if you made it to the championship, they gave you more for your families. And this is long overdue, and it just happened. Kudos to Ohio State. They just said, we're doing this, and let the NCAA come down on us for doing the right thing here. And the NCAA said, okay, we'll actually step up and help.
Well, they actually did that before when they played the guys who should have been ineligible in the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah.
And doing this
That
kind of
year.
thing, it'll make people like me not feel as bad for the players when you say, okay, these guys should get more. I'm not a guy that says pay the players, but I'm not one of those guys that says they get enough already. And there are people like that out there, but these players, their families should be able to come watch them play.
Absolutely.
While they're making billions of dollars for people, their families should at least be able to watch them play for free.
But let's use this money for the families. I mean,
Yeah,
let's
exactly.
now how many kids are going to pocket that money and tell
I
mom
would
and dad to stay home
Well,
and watch it
maybe
on television?
but some of those kids they want to help mom and they want to help dad, and
Mm-hmm.
and I think Spurrier, when he made his comments about the $200 a month that players are going to get now
Mhm.
over the course of a season, that he's hoping that they'll use that for their families too, or help their families get
I
to
would
games.
say this though. I would think some families would not like all of this publicized because Uncle Joe that they ain't seen in 10 years. I know I can go because I just read.
You have money to
Well,
send me.
You have somebody I can go. Come on now.
All right, a couple of other things. Yesterday, didn't get to this yesterday. The South Atlantic Conference preseason poll for the upcoming football season, and in that poll of coaches, Newberry was picked third behind Lenore Ryan and Carson Newman. Catawba fourth, Tusculum fifth. Today, the preseason team for the league announced, and from Newberry, several players, offensive lineman Stephen Nance named to the first team on the offensive side. On the defensive side, defensive lineman Alcebus Squirewell and linebacker
Nice job
Taylor
on that pronunciation.
McDonald.
Twisted me in a few knots today.
Looks like Alcebus to me. Could be
No,
Alcebus.
the last name's the one that.
Oh, Squirewell? Piece of cake. Taylor McDonald, Newberry linebacker, and punter Kyle Clark. On the second team from Newberry, running back Romello Doctor, offensive lineman Hayden Wilkes, and tight end Zach Edmonds. And on defense, defensive lineman Jalen Hunter and defensive back Arnez Gray. Coach Todd Knight's going to be with us tomorrow.
He is. He's
7:30.
doing a media blitz all around
Yeah,
the state.
yeah.
But he wants to hit the entire state here on Sports Talk. So looking forward to that. And then you'll be there in a few weeks.
Couple of
for the
weeks.
Powell Pigskin Tour stop.
Absolutely. And let's see, from LSU, sophomore defensive tackle McQuadius Bain has left the program and has decided to transfer. He was one of those players who had a bit of a legal issue, but was reinstated to the team, but apparently decided to go ahead and leave and go somewhere else. So he's out of that program. You know what else is coming up along with football? We've got soccer cranking up. Preseason men's coaches soccer poll, and Clemson checks in at number 11. Coastal Carolina at number 21. UCLA is number 1. And on the women's side, South Carolina is number 11, and Clemson is number 22, and Florida State is number 1. All right, that's what I've got. You got anything else, K-Mac, you want to share that you've heard about?
I think you hit the big notes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mhm.
Coming up, let me go ahead and announce this. We got a lot of plans for you this upcoming football season, a lot of great programming bits. We'll have some of the same folks with us that we've had over the years, our football filibuster. Lee Sterling will be with us once again this football season. Happy to announce tonight that on Thursday nights, beginning August 27th at 6:30, this will be the place to hear from two of the best coaches to work in our state for many, many years, Ellis Johnson and Chuck Reedy. Of course, Chuck's retired from football completely, totally done, finished, out of it. Ellis, temporarily out of football, certainly intends to attempt to get back into football in some form or fashion. They will be our coordinators on Thursday night, breaking down the Gamecocks and the Tigers and other teams around the state, around the SEC and the ACC, two guys that know this state and those leagues inside and out, and I feel privileged that they will be a part of Sports Talk every Thursday night at 6:30.
Great.
So looking forward to having them with us here on Sports Talk. And K-Mac mentioned we've got the Palmetto Pigskin Tour that'll be cranking up next week as we start to hit the state and make the rounds to various schools not named USC and Clemson. Check in on the other programs around the state of South Carolina that we can get to. So we've got a lot going on. Also, coming up on Sports Talk in August and moving forward, if you love to hunt and fish, next week we start a new segment Wednesday nights with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. They'll be in the studio every other Wednesday to answer your questions. We'll kick it off with Captain Billy Downer next week at 7:30 to talk about boating. In the weeks after that, we'll cover dove hunting, alligator hunting, my personal favorite, and deer season. Look forward to our time with Downer. All right, to the practice fields we go here on Sports Talk. We begin in Columbia, where the Gamecocks went out at 9 this morning. Around 11:15 or so, Steve Spurrier came over and gave us the first update of camp.
Yeah, I thought it very encouraging. I thought it was very encouraging. I know all you defense, which you've talked to, were really happy with the new players. A lot of these freshmen and junior college kids. So it's going to be a different defense. We all know that. And what's sort of neat, nobody knows much about our players right now. And we'll have some different offensive players. These young wide receivers, nobody knows much about them yet, but they can catch and they can run. So we'll see if we can protect the quarterback and throw some at him as well as run. But overall, it was fun to see the new guys. And that's a sort of a thrilling part of coaching in college. You know, I used to say after 4 years, you know, they move on. Now you can say after 3 years, half the time they move on, although they probably most of them should stay 4 years. But it was a good morning. We were, I think, upbeat that we found some new ball players.
Steve, talking about the quarterback battle. What did you see?
Quarterback battle is going on, and like I told him, we're charting everything. We've turned into a bunch of charters out here because a lot of jobs are up for grabs. Secondary, quarterback, receivers outside of Pharaoh. You know, got a bunch of receivers vying for those other spots. So it'll be a competitive preseason. And again, hopefully we'll have a lot of players ready to play. Hopefully, you know, play 6, 7 receivers if we can.
Any of the quarterbacks stand out? Any one stand out today?
I don't know. We'll chart it up and sort of let you know how they did later on. But yeah, they did okay. They did pretty well. Lorenzo Nunez, he got 1 out of 4 snaps. He got just as many as everybody. So he was running around, firing around, and we think he's going to be a very good player.
Speaking of the snaps, how were they?
They were better today. Yeah, not too many grounders, I don't think. A few high ones I heard on the other side. I was sort of watching this side. But we had 2 huddles, 2 offenses, defenses, rapid firing. Hopefully we can do that all week.
Faster pace than same time?
Well, just more guys getting snaps. You know, I always – it's my fault, though, guys standing around watching. So we didn't have a lot of watchers today. It was a lot of 2 huddles, 2 defenses, substitutions, and going as fast as we could just about.
How do you feel about the offensive line personnel? However,
I like these young guys. I was watching the young guys most of the day, and I think Coach Elliott was watching the older guys. But the young guys look good. They were competing, scrapping. I guess the older guys did fairly well.
Yeah.
I was sort of watching the youngsters today.
Steve, the amount of charting you guys are doing, is it more than you've done in the past?
Yeah. Well, we didn't have to chart at all last year. Didn't have to chart when Connor Shaw was here. We knew he was one of the best quarterbacks in the country. So, but when you have, you know, guys that have not played, chart it up and just see where we all stand.
Who's your charter?
Well, we got Seth and Brian Turk, who's quality control. Seth's a GA, but they're all out here. We'll chart off the tape, though. We'll go and watch the tape and see how they all did.
Steve Spurrier from this morning over at USC, and then they brought out defensive coaches and players. We'll hear from Lorenzo Ward. Talk to Isaiah Johnson, the transfer from Kansas. Very impressive young man, going to make an immediate impact. Dabo coming up. Welcome back, Sports Talk, on a very busy Tuesday night from downtown Columbia. We are, of course, on Main Street, our Learfield studios, and we are the Sports Talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. Good to have you with us. Hope you've had a great day, and look forward to spending the next 90 minutes with you as we roll into football practice. USC Clemson underway. Other schools around the conferences getting underway as well. Doing our best to stay on top of the major information for you here on Sports Talk. 800-956-7266 is our number. If you want to join in on the program, we'll have some time here coming up shortly for comments or questions. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com, and on Twitter, make sure you sign up for our Twitter feed at Sports Talk SC. Facebook is Sports Talk Radio Network. Check out the website all the time, every day, and that is at sportstalksc.com. All right, Dabo Swinney. He's got his Tigers on the field this evening for the first time this camp, and he met with the media before going out. That was around 3 o'clock today, 3:30, that he got with the media. By the way, Clemson Athletic Director Dan Radakovich will be with us on Sports Talk tomorrow night. Had a chance to talk with him and to Ray Tanner today at the gathering at the State House, and so he'll join us tomorrow night. We haven't talked to him this summer. He's headed out to Dallas on Friday for the next meeting of the CFP. So I thought it was a good idea to get him on before he goes out there.
Is that a lifetime membership? Is that
2
how
years.
that works? 2 years.
2 years. Yes, he comes off after this year. Mm-hmm. So we'll have him with us tomorrow night to talk about all things Clemson. One thing he did tell me that I did not know, maybe you guys knew this, maybe you didn't. They're not demolishing Little John in its entirety. The upper deck at Little John is remaining the same.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're going to refurbish it, but the upper deck is remaining the same. It's all the bottom stuff and the bowl area and the arena area. All that's being demolished, taken out, and redesigned. Upstairs is staying the same, except for being updated. I didn't know that. I thought the whole thing was coming down. It's the building next to it that's been totally demolished.
Yeah.
The practice facility. That's going to be rebuilt too.
I was under that impression too, that they were essentially just keeping the walls up.
No. I said, the last thing to go down is going to be the press area, right? He goes, no, we're not touching that upstairs. That's
your seat's probably there.
We're not going to bother your seat.
Yeah, I said, leave
mustard stained napkin is still there.
Leave my seat near Tree Rollins' jersey hanging from the rafters. Don't touch it.
Half empty Diet Coke.
I have a very fond relationship with that seat. Anyway, he'll be with us tomorrow night. Right now, though, it's his football coach, Dabo Swinney. You think Dabo's fired up for the start of practice?
Yes.
No school, no nothing. All ball, 24/7 for these next couple weeks, and really a lot of work to get done. So we'll maximize every ounce of our time. Installation, meetings, walkthroughs, practices, film study, virtual reality. I mean, we got it all. And so really looking forward to just, getting a lot done over these next couple of weeks. Schedule's a little bit different because of having an extra week once school starts before we play. So managing that will be important for us as far as just the health of our team, the energy of our team, and then, again, just the installation schedule. As far as injury-wise and all that, everybody's out there. I think we got one of the Bevel boys who's got a broken wrist. He's had that since he's been here. He had to have surgery. He's the only one that will be in practice. So everybody will be, full speed ahead, and hopefully we can get a little lucky and stay healthy as we go through it. A couple of comments. Really excited about our speaker that we had this morning, a young man named Isaiah Austin. Y'all may have heard of him, basketball player from Baylor University that literally was, going to be a lottery pick, and all of a sudden he's got Marfan syndrome and told him he couldn't play anymore. I saw the story back in February and reached out to him back in the spring, wanted him to come in and speak to our team. And he's 7'1", and he's 21 years old. Just an incredible presence and a great inspirational story of how you respond to adversity in your life, and how sometimes things don't always go according to plan. And I just thought his message was great for the team today, this morning. So a good way to get started. And then As most of y'all know, I think we put out a release. We talk about Christmas in August with Trey Lamar and Sean Pollard signing up to be Tigers. Man, I can't tell you how excited we are about those two guys. Pretty cool to be able to talk to y'all about it here on August the 4th. Y'all all know all the accolades. I mean, here's what I want you to know. Yeah, Pollard you can't go find anybody better as an offensive lineman. I mean, he's the epitome of what we want. And then same thing with Trey Lamar. But more importantly than the fact that they're great players, these are great people that fit everything that we strive to achieve here at Clemson and how we try to achieve it. Great students, great character, tremendous families. And so we're really, excited about those two guys and their future here. And again, in about 4 or 5 months, those guys will be here getting ready to go through the off season, and it goes really fast. But really can't say enough about those two. Hopefully y'all have a chance to see them here in the near future and get up here for a practice or two. So anyway, we got a lot of work to do starting today. Anybody got any questions, anything specific y'all want to talk about that I didn't touch on?
Coach, what's your main concern going into practice?
I don't really have any big concerns right now. I'd say more challenges. There are probably more concerns for maybe some fans, but for me, I kind of look at it as a challenge. I think defensively, our inexperienced depth is a challenge. I'd be concerned if we didn't have talent, but we got talent. We just got a lot of work to do. I mean, we got to grow guys up. We got to give them some playing time anywhere we can. My philosophy is, and one that I really believe in. And to be honest with you, back watching Mickey Andrews for years at Florida State, and certainly against him here for many times. I used to just be so impressed because you get excited to play those guys because you look at the roster like, well, that guy's gone, that guy's gone, that guy's gone, that guy's gone, and you're like, man. And then you look up and they go, yeah, but that guy played a lot, and 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 they just kind of reloaded every year. And it always, and even when I was coaching receivers at Alabama, I was always mindful of that because I think sometimes as coaches you get so comfortable, with certain guys. And, I've always had the philosophy of play everybody deserves to play. Last year we had a bunch of 50-50 guys, as you know. I mean, 50-50, it just rolled. I mean, and we were very fortunate with that. That's why we were so good defensively, because we were deep, talented, and experienced. This year we're not going to have as many 50-50 guys. We might have some 90-10, some 80-20, some 70-30. But it is very important for the morale of our team, for the development of our program, for the development of that player, that they get those reps. It might be 10 snaps, and it might be an 80-20 deal. So this guy's getting 8 and this guy's getting 2, but then 2 reps are critical. And so we have to do a great job, I think, early on in getting some experience for some guys. You only going to get experience, go play.
All right, Dabo Swinney, prior to the day's practice, Tigers are coming off the practice field here in just a little bit. We'll have a post-practice report up on the website a little bit later on this evening. But, guys, he sounds like Dabo, excited about the start of practice and always excited when he gets quality players signed into his program.
And, of course, they got to gear up for a strong season in the ACC. This conference has really grown up, and he's got a difficult slate once they hit the ACC, and he's got some young players, as you said, have to grow up very quickly.
No doubt about it. I mean, they are not a team that does not have some questions that have to be answered during these practice sessions. Back in a moment. right, today at the State House, the Palmetto Series certified SC grown, announced by the South Carolina Agricultural Commissioner, Hugh Weathers, and others were there, and Ray Tanner and Dan Radakovich, they were there. The two coaches they brought were the baseball coaches, Monty Lee and Chad Holbrook. I had a chance to catch up with the two of them together and asked Chad, first of all, his thoughts about adding a little bit more incentive to the rivalry.
I think it's great for both schools. It's, obviously, the rivalry is not going to be increased anymore because of this series, because it's already at a high level, obviously. But I think it will bring great notoriety to the Olympic sports, because sometimes, I'll talk about football and baseball and basketball, and what happens on the soccer field and the volleyball court is very, very important too. And I think the fans that'll create some interest from our fans as well. And I think it's a great concept. I'm looking forward, obviously, to being a part of it. And one of the great things about being a coach and a player at South Carolina, and I'm sure it's the same way at Clemson, is being a part of this rivalry is a gift. And it's really, really neat to be a part of it, special to be a part of it. And that's why a lot of our coaches coach here, and that's why a lot of our players come and play here, to have a chance to be in one of the greatest rivalries in college sports.
And Monty, you know the rivalry from having coached at South Carolina too, but now you're jumping in as the head coach at Clemson, and you'll be on equal footing with these guys now in every aspect.
Well, and it's very exciting. And again, this is just another measure that will enhance the rivalry between the two schools and the athletic programs, across all sports. Palmetto Series is just another way for the fans across the state of South Carolina, whether they're Clemson fans or South Carolina fans. It's something that they can embrace and keep up with. And, we're very, very competitive between the teams and with our fans. And I think all of us who are from South Carolina understand that. And, it's great that the South Carolina Department of Agriculture is involved as well as part of the livelihood of the people of South Carolina, just like the rivalry is. So we're very excited about joining together and being a part of it.
Jack and Ray had a rather unique relationship, I guess you could say. I think they were kind of friendly off the field, but really went after each other on the field, and neither one would let anything slide with the other. So, Monty, how do you think the rivalry with you and Chad will develop over the years now that you both are in charge of these programs?
Well, I think Chad and I first off, we have a great relationship, and the rivalry, obviously both of us know the impact of the rivalry across this state, and we're going to compete like crazy against each other in recruiting the same guys and going after the same guys as hard as we both can. And he knows that I'm going to get some, and I know he's going to get some, and that's just part of it. And when the teams get a chance to play against each other, look, they're getting to play in the greatest rivalry in all of college sports. There is no college series like Clemson and Carolina. So it's a lot of fun to be a part of it. Both of us have a lot of respect for each other and a great relationship, but we know when it comes to recruiting and our teams competing against each other, what that represents, and it's something that's very exciting to be a part of.
And Chet, how about for you, transitioning from Jack to going up against Monty now, and of course you faced him at the College of Charleston, but it's a little bit different now that he's wearing the orange and white.
Well, we've always thought the world of Monty. Monty worked for Coach Tanner, so I got to know Monty back when I was working at North Carolina. So the relationship's gone on for a long period of time. And what he did at the College of Charleston, what he did starting at South Carolina, from the way his team swung the bat and the way they hit, and then he went on to be the head coach at the College of Charleston and did a terrific job. So again, this rivalry is not about two coaches. It's about Clemson playing against South Carolina, and that's why we're very, very fortunate to be a part of it. But our program has the utmost respect for Coach Lee and the Clemson baseball program, and I think it's reciprocal. I think they feel the same way about the University of South Carolina and our baseball program. And once that first pitch is thrown, we're going to try to beat each other's brains out. But
all right, Chad Holbrook and Monty Lee from earlier today over at the State House. Again, it's called the Palmetto Series, and it is sponsored by the South Carolina Department of Agriculture. And they will use the full schedule of events between the two programs throughout the year. And as the teams compete head-to-head, the winner will earn points and, of course, bragging rights, and they will receive the coveted Palmetto Series trophy. So the winner overall at the end of the year will receive a trophy. Points will be given in baseball, football, men's, women's basketball, men's, women's soccer, men's, women's tennis, men's, women's golf, except they don't normally play head-to-head there, unless they just happen to be in the same tournament, women's cross country, women's diving, and volleyball. There will be annual food drives and academics. The average of the fall and spring GPAs of every athlete that participates throughout the year. Food drives and academics can also earn points. A couple of baseball notes talking to the two coaches. Monty, concerned about his pitching. First year out at Clemson, realizes pitching is a concern. Chad feels much better about the catching situation with the junior college kid he signed and a high school kid coming in who he says is going to remind you of Grayson Griner. Back in a moment. Former USC quarterback and tight end Brendan Nosovich has a new home. He is headed to Boston College, I guess, to play maybe a little quarterback, maybe some tight end. Mm-hmm. As far as the recruiting report tonight, looks like South Carolina will go 1 for 2 with the junior college players waiting to get into school. Defensive back Torrey Boyd, Chaffey Junior College, California. He appears to be in good shape to be admitted soon. But defensive end Devontae Covington, Georgia Military, his coach tells us, in his words, unless a miracle happens, he's not going to get one of his classes this summer. And so grades were due in today, and it did not look good based on what he knew. So whether or not USC will continue to work with him to try to get him in later remains to be seen. He also tells us Akeem Cooperwood, his big offensive lineman, committed to USC. 335 to 340 now, and he's lost weight and looking good in camp early. He won't graduate until next spring. Defensive end Kalen Ritchie, also a USC commitment, he said is looking good with his grades to be a mid-year graduate. Clemson still has one signee waiting in the wings academically. That is defensive lineman Samuel Davis of Bamberg Earhart, finishing up an online class. He needs to be considered for admission. Running back Tavian Feaster of Spartanburg, of course, one of the nation's top prospects. Very exciting player. Kind of stirred things up recently when he went to Tennessee for a 2-day visit and then told some volunteer fan websites afterwards that the visit gave him something to think about. But he later came out on Twitter and said he's still committed to the Tigers, and he's going to be visiting Clemson sometime this week or this weekend. And he tells us that there's nothing that Clemson coaches need to say to him or need to sell him on. He's set with Clemson. He thought about the things that he liked about Clemson when he originally committed. Feels like he's made the right decision for himself and his future. He did say Tennessee was hard on him when he was up there, went after him real hard, making some good points with him. And he had fun, but he said he likes where he is at. He said Georgia and USC were two other schools that kind of came at him over the summer, but he says he will not take any other visits anywhere else except to Clemson. Clemson is one of the top three with defensive back Trayvon Mullen, Pompano Beach, Florida, along with Florida State and LSU. Also, Clemson target defensive end Tony Clayton of Vienna, Georgia, picked up offers from TCU and Wisconsin. He's gotten nearly 40 offers. In basketball, 2017 guard Devontae Shuler of Irmo, offered by Florida. He also has USC and Clemson offers, among others. He's the next up-and-comer here in the Midlands area in the state of South Carolina. Question is, when will Seventh Woods make his decision? Will he do something before school gets underway, or will he drag it out into next spring? I think his plan is to do something at the early signing period. We'll have to wait and see if he decides to take all his official visits early and try to get it done. We'll be watching that closely. Top of the hour break. We'll be back. Busy second hour to come.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
And we are back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Welcome back into the program, hour number 2 on a Tuesday evening. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes. Behind the bulletproof glass tonight is Larkin Belton, as the Steak Man is on a paid leave of absence, in some parts known as a vacation. In his case, a paid leave of absence. Hope he comes back in one piece. I think last time he took a vacation, he almost took his leg off, or at least his knee. Hopefully, what's he doing? Chasing fish around again? Is that what here's a guy. How old is he? State Man's about what, 45? He's still traveling around trying to catch fish concerts every opportunity. It's pretty sad. It's pretty sad. That's why we love him. It's pretty sad, though. 800-956-7266 is our number. You've heard from Spurrier and from Sweeney tonight on the program. Any thoughts on what they're talking about? Any questions you might have about what's happening in camp, any observations, be happy to take those on here in the next little bit. 800-956-7266. Later on, we'll get into some NASCAR. Chip Wild from Darlington will join us. We'll also hear from NASCAR champion Kevin Harvick. The thing about these race car drivers, if you didn't know what they looked like, Ryan Blaney looks like he's about 14 years old. I wanted to ask him if he had a driver's license. He looks really young. And Kevin Harvick's just a normal-looking Joe. He's obviously one of the great drivers in the world. But, man, he was wearing – you know what he was wearing today? Shoe-wise?
FUBU.
No.
Sneakers.
No. All right. You're close. You're not close. You're right on it. But what was he wearing sneaker-wise?
Adidas.
Wrong.
Nike.
Wrong.
Reebok.
Wrong.
He was wearing old Chuck Taylors.
Chuck Taylors.
Chuck Taylors.
Wearing Chuck Taylors. You know what Chuck Taylors are?
Yeah, I have a pair.
Do you really?
It's not like they're out of style.
Yeah. Well, are they coming back? Are Chuck Taylors making a comeback?
They're always
they never went out of style, Corn. They never went out of style.
I didn't say they went out of style, but people stopped wearing them.
We used to call them.
No, they.
We also used to call them canvas cons.
What are you wearing?
Is what we used to call them.
Penny loafers.
I'm wearing some. I don't know what I'm wearing. They're about wore out. I know that. He's wearing some Chuck Taylors today. But enjoyed talking to them. And
didn't have a fire suit on.
Did not have a fire suit on, but he did have on.
His wife had a fire suit.
He had a shirt on from his team, Stewart Haas Racing, and had his car, the number 4 machine there, not the one that blew up at Pocono last weekend. He had a new machine. You know what they did? Of course, they drove 2 NASCAR cars, 2 race cars, down I-20 to Columbia and to the governor's mansion. That was part of the gig. And they drove around downtown Columbia.
But they followed the speed laws when they did it. I couldn't be a racer. I'd feel like I was racing when I was asleep and just try to grab a steering wheel.
I ever tell you a story about Dale Earnhardt driving his RV out of Darlington one time when I saw him? That was kind of cool. All right, got some time for your phone calls now. 800-956-7266. Our lines are wide open, so you can jump right on the program without delay, and we will get to your phone calls now. We have some time until Chip joins us, and we'll have a little Lorenzo warming up for you, too, a little taste of the Gamecock defensive side of things, and an interview with Kevin Harvick coming up as well. It was a busy day around the capital city today with a lot of things happening sports-wise. If you haven't heard, too, the new Columbia minor league baseball team will be known as the Fireflies, which, as Pro points out, makes a little bit of sense because previously they were known as the Sand Gnats.
In Savannah,
yes. Now they become the Fireflies. I guess
they didn't want to base it off anything like that. They had a whole little video. They did a nice job with their presentation, but at Congaree National Swamp every year there's a certain time of the year you can go down there and fireflies are everywhere. And they light up at the same time. So they're playing off of that, and they have a little flame, a little heat coming off of there in the logo. The big thing isn't the team name. It's that there's going to be another minor league baseball team. They're going to play in the South Atlantic League. So they'll be in there with the River Dogs. They'll be in there with the Drive. In fact, there was a shot across the bow from the River Dogs earlier today. They took a little shot that the only Firefly they like is the sweet tea vodka. Well, the sweet tea vodka that they make down there in the Low Country.
Fireflies are
more
very
baseball.
Friendly insects.
Yeah, they're
they're not a
kids catch
they're
them,
not like
put them in the
a
mason
hornet
jar.
or a wasp or something like that you want to, if it comes at you, you want to kill it. A firefly, I've never been scared of a firefly.
Their uniforms are going to glow in the dark. The outside.
Hey, that'd be kind of cool.
So, yeah, maybe they're going to play at night.
Sounds like something Mike Beck would come up with.
They would release some. Bill Beck is dad.
Yeah. Well, Mike is he's very creative too.
Minor league baseball has been huge in Greenville. What it's done there at the West End, and the River Dogs have been great in Charleston for many years. Down at Myrtle Beach, the Pelicans. Columbia needs a team. So,
by the way, talking to Tony Schufo this afternoon, of course, his son Nick, former first-round draft pick of Tampa Bay, and doing well. He's still in Single A in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and doing as well as he can. He's had some nagging injuries, but defensively has very good numbers, throwing out base runners and things of that nature. Hitting's coming along, but you have to remind yourself that Nick's only 20 years old. And Tampa's going to be patient with him and give him a first-round draft pick, get every opportunity to make it or fail. They're not going to rush a first-round guy. They drafted you in the first round because they think you've got immense talent, and they'll give you some time to get it worked out and let it come to the top. So he's still in there grinding, and Tony said it could be another 4 or 5 years before he gets a chance, but he'll still only be 25 years old.
Well, in the major leagues, especially at the catcher's position, pretty much they're almost like a pseudo quarterback. They, if they're good, they help line up the defense. They call the game, and pitchers just love a catcher that when they get on the same wavelength, but can argue on a pitch now and then. He's got to deal with all that. So he's got to not only know how to catch and also to hit, but also to be a leader out on the field.
Absolutely. All right, 800-956-7266, and our email talkback@sportstalksc.com. And let's see, in the inbox, we've got a couple of things here to touch on. Let's see. Mary writes to us, recruiting question. Has USC given up on Kyle Davis from Mountain Gamecock 57, but also named Mary? Have they given up on Kyle Davis? Nope, you never give up. That is one of Lorenzo Ward's targets. You continue to recruit and hope that the things that he liked when he originally committed come back in his head. If South Carolina has a good season, if they beat Georgia in particular in front of him, I'm sure he'll be at that game in Athens. If they do good things on offense, if he sees a quarterback emerge, knowing that whoever emerges as a star quarterback, or two, Nunez or Mitch, they're both young, they're going to be around for a while, and you've got Brandon McElwain coming in, a guy that's really going to, based on his high school career, kind of elevate the quarterback level at South Carolina. Your receiver, you see that, you go, it's not all that bad. But they've got to show him that. And also, Georgia just got a commitment from a speedy receiver out of Texas. Now, I don't know if that impacts him or not. Don't know if they play the same receiver position or not. But that is one less receiver spot available at Georgia, if that's something he's thinking about doing. Most people seem to think that it will be Georgia at the end for him, but we'll have to wait and see. But no, South Carolina hasn't given up. They're still in there working away to see if they can turn him back their way. All right, thanks for your email. K-Mac on Twitter. Have we had anything of note to talk about? Anybody saying anything interesting
on
there?
Twitter? Anybody saying anything interesting? It's been an active day on Twitter, actually. Here's somebody talking about Nosovich, Three Dingo. Your buddy,
Three Dingo.
says,
Ding, ding,
maybe
ding.
now Steve Spurrier will admit he's behind the other quarterbacks, but I ain't betting on it. Well, Nosovich isn't on the roster anymore, so Spurrier's not still. He did always say, "Oh, Brandon's out there. We're giving him some reps at quarterback. He's taking all the snaps." But there are 4 guys that are taking equal snaps right now for the Gamecocks as they
For a short time. Now,
they're going to have to whittle that down.
Yeah. And as Spurrier said, they've got really 2 practices going simultaneously. So I guess you've got 2 quarterbacks here and 2 quarterbacks here, and they're rotating either snaps or possessions. So they're all getting a lot of work.
Such a difference with Steve Spurrier. The intensity, it sounds like, the pace. For high school coaches that used to watch some of South Carolina's practices and go, these guys don't really have the kind of tempo that I run in my high school practice. It was a lot of 7-on-7 guys standing around watching. That's going away, at least temporarily, and they're practicing at night. In the morning more than at night. In spring, they hit more. I think Spurrier is trying to shake things up a little bit based on everything that happened last year and try some different things. They're charting quarterbacks now. They're using analytics more than they have in the past.
The interesting thing is South Carolina and the psychology of a player, in that when South Carolina recruited a lot of their players that turned seasons around, the selling point was, do you want to be part of a program that brags about its history, or you want to make history? And those guys came in, so they knew the work they had to do. The next wave usually comes in and thinks in the deep recesses of their mind that putting on the jersey will win football games, and it doesn't. And it hit them like a ton of bricks last year.
Look at this. Talk about doing a 180. Now, at USC for many years, for most of Spurrier's years, the first few practices were open to the media and the public. He's closed everything. Dabo Swinney always closed his practices to everybody. Today, Dabo Swinney let the entire media stay for the entire practice. Something that hadn't happened in Clemson in years. And Tim Beret, the SID, said the media will get an extended look at practice this week because of the amount of young talent on the roster. So Dabo has opened up. That's a little different.
Bizarro world.
Reading some of the notes here from David Hood, Tiger Net, our buddy up there. Deshaun Watson, he said, looks as good as ever. Still looks like maybe he doesn't entirely trust his knee when he throws on the run, but he throws in his throws in the pockets were on the spot. Freshman Tucker Israel looked healthy during the early session. Was in a walking boot after 6 periods. Kelly Bryant looks good. His accuracy wasn't the best early on. Offensive line said there's a lot of cross training going on. Maverick Morris took a lot of snaps with the first team at right guard. Eric McClain took snaps at left tackle. Jay Guillermo took a ton of snaps at left guard. Defensive line. Shaq Lawson was in the ear of the younger players. Took a lot of time with Austin Bryant, one of the young guys, to teach him up. Receivers. Deion Kane, very competitive. Wants to win every drill. Ray McLeod's talent undeniable. Early part of practice, he was trying to move too fast. Sharon Peak had to tell him to slow it down a little bit. Trevion Thompson was another receiver that was impressive, he says. Bigger than Artavis Scott, doesn't mind getting physical with the defensive backs. And Mackenzie Alexander, defensive backs, they say here, wants to take every single snap during the drills. Couple of more notes from David Hood on Clemson's practice. He said Cordray Tackersley, impressive today at the corner position. Hunter Renfro, he said, looked the best out of all the punters during the early session. Cannon Smith, big tight end now, 260 pounds, but looks agile and moves well. Freshman Garrett Williams, he said, looks the part. Freshman Mylan Richard missed part of spring with ankle injury, but looked good in practice today. He said when the offense ran at Shaq Lawson, it went nowhere. When it ran away from Shaq Lawson, they did okay. Artava Scott, Jermone Hopper, McLeod, Adrian Dunn all worked on punt return. Deion Kane had a nice one-handed grab for a touchdown. All right, some notes from David Hood as the Clemson media got a chance to watch practice in person. We did not have the luxury to do that at South Carolina today. Their practices are closed except for the scrimmages at Williams-Brice. Lorenzo Ward, co-defensive coordinator, he came out to speak about the defense and updated us on his thoughts after day one.
Got one behind us. We got a lot of new guys out here, but see some guys move around that we're kind of excited about.
Coach Spurrier has really talked up these newcomers on now the major college football.
Well, again, we got high expectations for them. We recruited them, and we feel like all those are guys that can come in and help us because that's what we need to help, especially up front. And, they're athletic, and they move around. They had a good summer working with Joe. And, it'll just be interesting to see how we get when we get in pass. We're still in shorts, and but they move around well today. Gerald is going to be a slow process because Gerald had a rod put in his leg. So, but he's working out and doing the things that Clinton has been doing. And Rico should be able to practice tomorrow. He's strained his hamstring toward the end of the summer, and but they've just been precautionary with Rico.
I see a difference in the way the guys. I know it's just your first practice, but just in the way they're reacting. It may be because you're older, maybe a little more comfortable with things. Kind of reacting and not relying so much on trying to read and think things out there?
Well, I think that's the system has something to do with it. I think that, the disappointment for the guys that was on the team, the way we played last year on defense. And then I think, having new players. Anytime you get some competition going at the position, you make everybody else better. And so I think that's what we got going on defense right now.
How are you impressed about Isaiah Johnson?
I hadn't paid much attention to Isaiah other than him working out this summer. But, again, I'm up with the front seven, and Coach Hope would have to answer a question on Coach Brown.
How are you adjusting to your role of the defensive eyes now on the front side?
Oh, totally. Yeah, that's one of the things that I went to Coach about after the season and said, we need 4 sets of eyes on 2 sets of eyes on the front 4 because I think that's important. You got to – if you're only going to be as good as you are up front, and that's where we got to make sure we're good at.
And, just eyeballing some of the players as they were walking off the field, they do look to be in pretty good shape. What happened to them last year in terms of their conditioning and their physical appearances, some of them, I can't answer that if they just slacked up and didn't work them as hard as they have in the past. But they appear to have worked very hard this offseason. Phillip Dukes looks much leaner, and that's one that comes to mind. And, of course, the newcomers, Dante Sawyer, looks like a man. He's a year older, having gone to junior college, and a guy that will no doubt contribute to very early, and they remain very excited about Quay Lewis, too, and what he can do from his defensive end spot. Be right back. Big day for Darlington, big day for NASCAR here in the state of South Carolina, as it was Darlington Media Day at the governor's mansion. The governor was there along with Mr. Governor. What do we call him? The first man, the first husband? What do we call him in our state?
I guess you do call him the first husband.
I'm really referred to him.
He was there too.
First gentleman. First gentleman. I'm
There
sorry.
you
Excuse me there.
Larkin knows.
Larkin, the Politico behind the scenes guy for us. The first gentleman. He was there.
Because if you say first husband, that means that you might have
a second.
second.
Anyway, and other dignitaries were there. We had Kevin Harvick and Ryan Blaney there as well with their respective cars that they will drive at Darlington on Labor Day weekend. Chip Weil, the president of Darlington, was there as well, and he had some big news to share with everybody, and he joins us now. Great day. New 5-year contract with Bojangles. A lot of great exposure today at the governor's mansion for you.
Yeah, what an incredible day. Thanks to Governor Nikki Haley and the first gentleman, Michael Haley, along with a number of folks that helped make today possible. I tell you, Phil, it took a lot of coordination, as you can imagine, dealing with a number of different government agencies. It just takes a lot of time and a lot of talking to make sure you have all the logistics put together. But it turned out to be a fantastic day, and loved it that you guys were there to share with us.
Well, that's great news, and also the great news about Bojangles. To celebrate, on my way home tonight, I'm going to pick up a 2-piece with an extra order of fries from Bojangles just to help them out. But how long has it been in the works? The two sides have been talking about extending the contract and making sure that Bojangles remains a part of the Southern 500.
Yeah, Bojangles is critical to the success of our racetrack. And two iconic Southern brands, it makes a lot of sense. You got to speak to Clifton Rutledge, their CEO, today. He's become an incredible friend of mine. Bojangles is an incredible partner. And we talk about sponsorships in the sport. They're not a sponsor of Darlington Raceway. They're a partner of Darlington Raceway. And they support everything we do. And, I feel like we do a nice job providing them a platform and an environment to be able to promote their legendary iced tea and their delicious chicken. So we just will continue to work together for the next 5 years and hopefully even further into the future.
Yeah, taking a glance at some of the media on hand today and taking a look at the bellies, I think quite a few of them have visited Bojangles regularly over the years.
I feel like I'm eating a lot of Bojangles these days. But again, it's a really special day. It's incredible that we have such an amazing relationship with Governor Nikki Haley and the governor's office. And it's just so heartwarming to know that they support our beloved racetrack and the things that we do. And to have Governor Nikki Haley support it truly means a lot to me personally and professionally. But we look forward to having her and first gentleman Michael at the race this year and showing them what good Southern hospitality is all about.
All right, now tell me about the drive to the governor's mansion today for the two NASCAR mobiles that made it there.
Yeah, so we had two race cars, or cars that look just like the race cars. We started in Lugoff at the rest stop on I-20. So we had a really unique fan event. What we did is we continue to try to find ways to reward our renewal customers, the people that buy tickets early in the cycle. And what we did is we sent out a communication to them last week saying, hey, Ryan Blaney, Kevin Harvick, you're going to be in town. We want you guys to come out, RSVP to this event, come out and get to meet them and get to ask them some questions. So we started there and then left at 2:45 and headed down I-20. And I can tell you it's fun to when you drove by a car that kind of gave you a second look like, hey, what are these guys doing?
Yeah.
And then we went, I had the opportunity to drive on the State House grounds and got some really cool shots of the 21 and the 4 car by the Capitol, and then headed down to the governor's mansion. It was really fun.
Yeah.
It was a really unique event. It's not every day that you get to drive race cars or cars that look like race cars down the highway.
Yeah. What was the average speed of the cars, and how did they handle going into the big turn as you got on 277 towards downtown?
Yeah, they handled pretty good. We just rolled, and luckily we have a great relationship with the Department of Public Safety, and they helped us.
Hey, you know what? I do too. I have a great relationship with them.
But yours cost you a lot of money, I think.
Yeah.
So luckily we had an escort, and it was funny. I was looking because we were in the right lane, just cruising along at 70 miles an hour. It's funny, all the people on the left lane wouldn't go any faster than us because they saw all the highway patrolmen,
Yeah.
and you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to pass them. And who's going to be the first guy to pass a highway patrol car? You never know.
Yeah, the guy that's going to get the next ticket. That's who's going to be the first guy.
Sure.
Now, it seemed like Blaney and Harvick, too, really enjoyed themselves in every aspect of the event.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick and Ryan Blaney are both personal friends of mine. And when we had the opportunity to pick our driver for this year, and knowing that we had this in the works, I wanted to get two guys that I was friends with so that they would be a little more agreeable to the things that we needed them to do. So I did call them both last night and say, hey, just be patient tomorrow. But they both have sent me texts tonight saying, hey, great job today. It was really fun. And when you can get a driver to say a media day was a fun event and something they enjoyed, I consider that a huge success.
Yeah, it really was a great day. Nice crowd out there. It was a little warm, but the weather was just fine. And thought the governor did a great job with her remarks and so on and so forth. So that was really good. And so now we continue the countdown. It's getting closer and closer with so much attention on football now. Before we know it, it'll be time to kick it off for the opening weekend, and then right in the mix there will be the Southern 500 on that Sunday evening. And what about the NBC folks? It's going to be their first time at your place, and do they come in early to kind of get a handle on the place, where to put their cameras and all the particulars that go into their broadcast?
Oh yeah, they've been here a number of times. We've had multiple site visits with them to make sure that they know where all their camera locations are. We've had a couple of new fence locations for them because they have some unique elements that they bring to the racetrack. But I tell you, NBC is a fantastic partner. They were a part of today. Marty Spider, who's a part of their broadcast, came and actually rode the passenger seat with Kevin down I-20, and they continue to amaze us on a weekly basis. We're still 33 or 34 days from our event, yet they were here today, and we're going to do a really big feature on NBCSN tomorrow night about today's activity. So, we're just very blessed at Darlington Raceway to have such great partners that want to support us and want to be a part of the things that we're doing.
That's great. Do you know yet? Maybe you do. Maybe I should know this. Will the race on NBC, will it be on their over-the-air channel, their main channel, or is it going to be on their sports network?
Oh, no. Both our Xfinity Series race on Saturday afternoon and the Bojangles Southern 500 are going to be on the big network. Okay. We're one of 2 or 3 weekends throughout the second half of the year that both the Xfinity Series race and the Cup Series race will both be on NBC, the big network. So that's kudos to everybody at NBC because we're going to put on one heck of a show.
No, I think it's going to be great, and I know you probably have a couple of more tickets still available out there for people.
If you haven't gotten your tickets to the 66th Annual Bojangles Southern 500, you need to get them today. You go to darlingtonraceway.com or call 866-459-RACE, 866-459-RACE. Get them today. We have a lot of really incredible things that we're going to be doing on Labor Day weekend. I never talk about this, but we talk about how this is a family event, and we offer half-price tickets for kids 12 and under. So if you're a mom or dad listening tonight and you don't have plans on Labor Day weekend, you're going to bring your kids for some wholesome family fun, come to the Bojangles Southern 500.
Hey, sounds great. Thank you, Chip, and we will talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. You too, man. Chip Wild, president of Darlington Raceway, with us here on Sports Talk. We'll hear from Kevin Harvick coming up.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense for NBC because you have the race that week, and then that next week you kick off your NFL schedule with Sunday Night Football. So you get the people a little taste of sports, in this case racing, and they're becoming real big in racing, especially on their network. I mean, they have tremendous.
Well, they're trying to draw viewers
NASCAR
to the network,
exactly,
and that's one way to do it. They haven't put. Have they had any race on their main channel yet? I think all the races NBC has been on their cable system.
I think
Fox was kind of most of their races were on their main channel, not their network. One note from Clemson, for those of you who keep up with the numbers, Jerron Kearse is going to wear number 1 this season. That's one thing that was observed today by the media allowed in to Clemson's practice. Back in a moment. All right, thanks to Chip Weil for being with us tonight, president of Darlington. Big day at the Governor's Mansion, Darlington Media Day. Kevin Harvick, the defending NASCAR champion, defending Southern 500 champion, on hand. Had a chance to catch up with him with some other members of the media. And, of course, he was asked, first of all, about the upcoming race at Darlington and going back to a place where he just won.
Darlington is something that I think for me personally, I look forward to coming to every year, just for the fact that it means so much to our sport and has such a huge history in what we've accomplished as a sport altogether. So I think to be able to come back and race and be able to experience things that they've experienced through the years on a racetrack that really, it has been repaved, but its original shape is still the same. And to me, that's something that's pretty neat. So I'm looking forward to the weekend.
You can be caught up in the nostalgia of the weekend, everything that they're doing to kind of bring back the old day feel.
Yeah, well, I think as a sport, I think everybody's really caught on to participating in the weekend. And I think from the racetrack to, I know with our team and the Budweiser folks have been great to represent the first can of beer and everybody from Goodyear going back to how the tires were. I mean, it's something that everybody's put a lot of effort into. So I think as you look and see the cars on the weekend, I think it'll be neat for the competitors along with the fans and everybody watching on TV.
There's almost as much history. I guess the last trivia question, the last guy to win it on Labor Day was Labonte. So it'd be kind of neat to win the first race back on the Labor Day weekend.
Well, that's definitely the goal. You want to come here and win again. We were fortunate to experience winning at Darlington last year, and to come back and try to win again is really what the goals are. So obviously every week that we get a little bit closer to the chase, the intensity level comes up, but still the Southern 500 is still, no matter where it is on the schedule, is something that everybody's got circled on their calendars when they want to win.
What does it say about what are your favorite memories of the Southern 500?
Oh man, I think when you look back, you don't have to look too far back. I think when Kurt and Ricky Craven had the closest finish in NASCAR history, I think that was probably one of the moments that was pretty neat just for our sport, and that came at Darlington. I think when you just look back at some of the old film, I wouldn't say it's just one particular race. I think when you just look back and you look at the cars and the things that the guys went through, and I mean, you guys feel how hot it is. It's not, the cars weren't like they are nowadays. I mean, they were grueling to drive, and I guess you could call them men's men because they were making those cars go around the racetrack and the safety and things that weren't what they were today. So it's definitely just a grueling racetrack, and I think you're going to put some more grueling conditions back into the weekend.
You talked about all the support throughout NASCAR, for the historic things that they're doing, and all the paint scheme changes. What does that say about where Darlington Raceway stands within the sport of NASCAR?
Well, I think that a lot of that just goes back to the people, and I think the people who came up with this program and put the effort into this weekend as really representing what the weekend is all about, and that's the history of our sport, because we've had so much history take place at Darlington and being our first super speedway and really kind of breaking ground as to where we could race and the size of racetrack that we could race on. And you look back at some of the guys that have won the Southern 500, and you look at the names on that trophy, and they're the who's who of our sport. So it's a big race, and I think, like I said earlier, when you come back to this race, this is one that you want to win.
What's it been like around your shop after what happened Sunday? What's it been like around your shop this week, trying to figure out, what caused the engine to expire?
Our shop is no different on Monday, whether we win or lose. And that's the great part about our team. Our guys are look forward, never look back. And to be honest with you, it felt like the same as it does when we win a race. So all in all, I think everybody just does their job, and nothing's really different.
When was the last time you had a blown engine?
The last time we had a blown engine was at Texas in the spring of last year. So yeah, parts are going to break, pieces are going to break, and we've had a great over a year and a half now of just great performances and doing all the things that it takes to run up front, lead laps, and win races, and won a championship. So things are going to happen, and it's just our time was last week.
And Kyle Busch's current run, you've kind of been there. You've had that kind of dominance. What do you think about what he's doing right now? I mean, possibly could have won Sunday had he not run out of gas.
well, if we're going to talk about possibilities of winning races, we could possibly have won pretty much all of them but Kentucky. So, you know, I think when you look at the run that Kyle's been on, they've obviously done a really good job. And I think for those guys, it's definitely a position that this is their chase. I mean, in order to get in the chase, they have to put everything that they have on the table right now to go out and try to make up the points that they need to get in the top 30. So they're doing a good job, and you know, it's something that is fun to watch, and you know, we're fortunate to have been able to experience that type of run when it counted last year at the end of the year and winning the championship. So hopefully that all times out well for us again.
All right, Kevin Harvick from earlier today. Back in a moment. All right, tomorrow on Sports Talk, of course, we'll have USC practice and Clemson practice covered for you. I think Deshaun Watson talked to the media today up at Clemson, so we'll bring some of that to you. That'll be on our website later on tonight as well. Clemson doing interviews just a little while ago with the players, and so we'll bring that to you. We may have to touch base with David Hood up there since he's getting to watch practice. May have to get him on to tell us about what he's seeing. You know, they're going to leave them open for what, the first 5 practices, or until somebody puts
somebody
some video on
consecutive plays,
puts video on the web or something. That'll change everything in a hurry. But lucky break up there for the Clemson media. So we got that for you tomorrow.
As a media member that has dealt with open practices for about a decade with Steve Spurrier, at some point you start to wonder exactly what you're gaining from it. And you feel like you have to be there because if it's open, you don't want to miss something.
Especially in this age of having to report every little thing that happens.
Right.
You know, some guy goes down with
that's what it turns
torn
into.
fingernail. You got to report it on Twitter. So, all right, to the phones we go before we shut it down tonight. It's Bob in West Columbia. Hello, Bob, and welcome in. Hey, doing fine.
Kevin?
Good. Everybody's just great. Good.
Dave Dombrowski's no longer with the Tigers.
Hard to believe, you know, just a couple of years ago, that team looked like a juggernaut built for years of success with the pitching that he acquired and all that.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you know, Phil, you being a Yankee fan, of course, I'm a Yankee fan, but the Marlins beat the Yankees, you know, in the World Series in 2003? Because Mr. Huizenga, who owned the Marlins at the time, would not re-sign everybody. So they had to FedEx 12 out of the 24 rings on the day when they gave them their championship ring the next year on the opening day of April 1998. So Mr. Dombrowski did some wheeling and dealing and set the team up to win their second World Series.
Yeah, I'd say the Marlins
Marlins weren't born until 1992 or 93.
Marlins are probably the most unworthy of World Series champions ever.
Well, they won some. They had some
Well,
pretty
they
good teams.
just-
They just sold them off.
Exactly. I mean, they brought them in to win, and then they sold them off. They
And-
brought them in
and
to
right
win, and
now,
they sold them off.
I think you could argue that the Marlins are just a quadruple A team for the Dodgers. Like, the Dodgers, they got hand ram from them. They just say, hey, we'll take your bad mistake because we're apparently printing money somewhere at Chavez Ravine.
Well, Dombrowski is a sharp baseball man. He'll pop up with another team very soon.
Could he end up in Boston, where Lucchino is stepping down? Could they find a
Possibility.
position up there? All right. Final thoughts, K-Mac?
Final thoughts. First practice is in the books. Now we're off and running. Now we'll start hitting the practice grind here in another week and a
You're
half.
already
We'll get
tired of it.
Practice. All right, enough. Let's play a game already.
For journalists, they've already put on the pads.
You mean the journalists
the
or the
notepads?
players?
The journalists
They put on the pads.
have already put on the pads.
Okay.
Notepads.
Oh, notepads. I get it. Okay. Very nice. That will do it. Have a great night. Be sure to join us tomorrow night. It's going to be big. We'll see you then.